Hello everyone, welcome to tonight's live stream. Just double check here, things are not getting too crazy. No, that seems to be alright. Let me know if the sound is a bit weird. Things got updated in firmware and I'm pretty certain it's broken certain things. But we are live and we are doing question time. Question time is a chance for you to ask me any question you want to ask, be it about game dev, whatever you want to do, Unreal, totally up to you, okay? Ask me whatever question you want. All you have to do is put your question into chat and I'll try and grab as many questions as I can before our hour is up. If you don't get your question answered, I do apologise. Just put it into chat again. And if I still don't get to it, we do this every Wednesday live. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me live here tonight. Hello, everyone in chat. We've got Barzide Paul. Hello, Bostus. Minato, Ihosi, Sullivan, hey Ryan, hey, hello, Ihosi, hello, Pro, Red, hello. Before we do jump straight into answering some questions, well, while we're doing that, put your questions in the chat. I see Red's got one already in the chat there, but by all means, throw whatever we want in there. Before we start in getting deep into it, here we are announcing again our summer games jam. So if you don't know about this, the summer we are doing a games jam where you'll have a number of days to complete a game based on a certain theme, which will be announced at the start of the jam. There is a prize for the winning team, a winning person, and yeah, it's good fun. Do check it out. Alongside that, we do have also some new exclusive merch available with our Gamer God graphic. This is going to be all supporting the all proceeds will go towards the prize fund and bolster that even further. So yeah, thank you so much to everyone who has purchased one already and or is already thinking of purchasing one. But yeah, sign up if you haven't already done so. It's good fun. Okay, let's jump into Unreal. So I'm going to turn this down in my ear hole a moment. Hang on, because it's very loud in my ears. Okay. Oh, probably. Okay. So the first question was done by Red Fog SX. Has a crazy question today. How would you create an aircraft vectoring? Now, I'm not an aircraft expert, but from my quick Google of what aircraft vectoring is, it looks like it's just doing what we normally do anyway, where we provide a vector of movement over a certain amount of time. So, for example, if it's going to ever load, give it a second. There we are. Yeah, so whenever we do movement, we have to give it this vector anyway, this world direction. So if you want to command something with a vector, you just type in the vector you want to go, X, Y, Z values, and give it to that. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an aircraft expert, so I don't know exactly the ins and outs of it. But from my quick Google and the way it's described, I imagine that's what that is. But let me know if you need further clarification on certain things. Yeah. Next question. Neo Masaki, any update on the updated FPS RPG tutorial? Yeah, so we're coming up to the summer months. So this past couple of weeks have been really busy, especially for my editor, who's a teacher, as well as editing videos for the channel. And obviously it's leading up to the end of summer, so it's been a mad dash to get everything ready and done. Oh, sorry, no, it says everything done for the summertime. But during the summer, we're hoping to just pump out a ton of video content, and one of those on the to-do list is the FPS RPG, as well as continuation of Fireteam and many other videos that we need to catch up on, really. So stay tuned. I don't know exact dates and times yet, but we're planning to do like a whole whack of them over the course of the summer. Hello, Brad from Portugal. Hello, Skaz from Brazil. I'm sorry I'm yawning so much. It's been a long week. Quipania. Hey Ryan, as soon as I do a lighting build, the FPS of my package game drops significantly in rooms with many lights. What could cause this? It doesn't happen when I haven't done a lighting build yet. So are you using Lumen or are you using traditional bait lighting maps? Let us know in the chat there, Quip. Anime Finder, when's the next Pokemon tutorial? This weekend. Live stream this weekend is Pokemon. Because we are starting a month again. Okay, Jesper, how do I throw a grenade or shoot a projectile by holding X? And the longer I hold, the longer I can shoot. Just like in Worms 3D. Good question. So let's do that. So let's make, first of all, a projectile that I can actually launch. So let's make a quick projectile. And in this projectile, we're just going to have a little sphere. And we have a sphere collision. And I'll make that the root. Oh, dear. I'll bring that inside that. Okay. And add projectile movement to this. Projectile movement. Okay. So the projectile movement's initial speed here is 0. Max speed is whatever it is here. So let's put in a max speed of 1500, for example. Okay. And initial speed, we're going to leave at 0. Okay. So we can hit compile on that. And the thing we want to do is change the initial speed so it is variable. Now, the way you do that is using the construction script. So we're going to add a variable to this. And that would be speed. That would be a float. And on the construction script here, we're going to drag out our projectile movement and set its initial speed to this speed variable. Okay, so speed, strength, whatever it is. Okay, and hit compile. The speed value, the variable for speed, needs to be editable and exposed on spawn. This is so that when we spawn it, we can change the variable at the moment of its creation. This is how it's going to work and work with the construction script. So we need it to do that. Close that. Okay, next on the player character, we need to have an input for our character here. So let's go ahead and create an input. Input action, IA, shoot. And don't need to do anything there. And go to the context and add it to the context mapping. Shoot. And I'll set this to my left mouse button. Okay, so the longer I hold down my left mouse button, the more I want it to shoot. Okay. Now, that one. We want it to do on the trigger. We're going to change the trigger here to hold and release. Okay. And I think I should do. Okay. So hold and release is what we want to use there. So now we can go in here and do the shoot. And when it's started, we want to spawn actor from class and choose our projectile. And I'm going to change the spawn transform there to be somewhere in front of my character. I'm just going to go to the viewport and add a scene component just to save a bit of time. We'll just move that there. Okay. And I get a scene component and I get the world transform of that. And the speed here is going to be based upon how long we held the button down for. Now, when you've got the input action over here, if you expand open the advanced options here, you'll see you've got elapsed time in seconds and trigger time in seconds. We want the elapsed time in seconds. I'm pretty certain it's that one. And we want to apply that to the speed. Okay, so let's say seconds. If we multiply that by 500, okay, that'll give us the speed. So I'll put that in there. Okay. So now, if I go into the game. Oh. Not started, it's completed, sorry. We want to go to completed, not started. Sorry. Yeah. So I hold it down for longer. And it goes further. Let's sort out its collision. sphere 1. Change to block all. And projectile movement will say should bounce. Okay. So little hold down goes that far. A big hold down goes, well, much stronger, much farther. Okay, it goes a lot faster. Okay, so that is how you handle things like that. So to recap, you set up the input action to have the trigger for hold and release. What that trigger means is that it will allow you to use the elapsed seconds pin here in the advanced options, and it will, when it's happened on completed. Started when you start pushing the button down, completed when you release the button. So we want it happening there. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, traditional light quip. It's hard to know certainly what is wrong with your one quip without seeing lots more details about what you've done with your scene. If you're using traditional lighting methods, the things to make sure you're avoiding is use mostly static lighting if you can. If not stationary, you want to avoid having movable lights in your scene. Static lighting is free to use. It costs no performance, so if you can use it, use it. If you find that lighting is causing FPS, or like when you build lighting, FPS is still dropping regardless of being static lighting, it's probably nothing to do with lighting. It's probably more to do with materials. So check out the materials. When you are testing these things out, you want to look at your optimization view modes. So when you go to lit up here, got optimization view modes. Check out first of all your light complexity. Make sure this is a colder color. If you've got anything that's in white, that means there's something wrong there. So double check that. Okay. So colder is better. If everything looks okay there and you're still getting it, then check out things like your shader complexity. This details like how complex your shaders are, and shaders are your materials basically. So if you've got something that's got multiple draw calls, that's expensive. If you've got something that's see-through, that's expensive. So check this out, make sure it's as green as possible. Obviously you can have some red bits, but you want to keep it as green as you can. And the last one is quad overdraw. So check out this one too. Again, colder is better. Quad overdraw is basically when you have a really high detailed mesh that is on top of other meshes, and the quads, like the polygons, are being drawn too close together, and you lose that density of it. So the LODs can't really handle it. It's not like you can really see it that well in here because it's already quite simple already. But the center of this circle is a bit green. Okay, so it's a bit on the middle of this thing. But as I get closer, because the LOD quads get bigger and bigger in resolution, it becomes less of an overdraw issue. But if we do zoom out, you see a lot more green bits appearing. Yeah. This is mostly going to happen with transparent objects, so be aware of that. But they're the main culprits you're looking for. Can you explain Advanced Locomotion version 4? I didn't make it, but I can tell you how it works. It's relatively simple in concept, what it does. It's a bit outdated as well, based upon some of the things it tries to do. But basically what it does is when you jump over things, jump up to things like this, it does a series of line traces at different heights to work out which one's best to use for different animations. And that's actually all it is. As for like feet turning and eye keep turning and all that stuff, there's just a lot of different types of animations being used and compiled together. There's nothing really extraordinarily different about it. There are better ways of doing locomotion, but it works fine, obviously. But I didn't make it, so if you want to have any questions or any issues with it, do ask the creator. Because it's not an official Epic thing, so I can't help you too much. Next question. So let's grab this question from Matthew Marshall, is it possible to use blueprints to matchmake with an offline player, similar to how Clash of Clans lets you attack a player's village even when they're not actively playing? No. You need to be connected to a server. So the way that works is through a server. All your maps and everything is uploaded to a server, and then you can attack other people's villages because they're on the server. So that's how that works. You need, and you can't do it in Blueprint. You're gonna have to use C++ to access special server stuff for security reasons. Douglas Nordwall. Will a spawned replicated actor get instance variables replicated as well? Only if they've been flagged as replicated. They have to be told they're replicated. So you go to make another variable here. Like, you have to say that this is replicated here. Okay. Important to note, when it is replicated, only the server can replicate it. So clients can't do it. So if you want to change the value and replicate it, make sure the server's the one that's doing it. Can't post your question, it's too long. Okay, let's go back up and have a look at your question. By Bizald Paul, I am making a multiplayer RPG with some survival elements, and I can't think of a clean way to deal with stances or states. For example, when I push spacebar, I want to jump, but not if I am in a basic switch for stances, then for states, as it would mean making number of stances, X number of states, functions. So I've tried building some objects as states and stances. That's confusing. Hang on. If you can't fit all your questions into a single chat, just post multiple bits. I'm guessing you tried to reword it to fit. Just post it in multiple parts next to each other. Next question. Neo Masaki, what is the best way to make volumetric fog move slightly like it does in misty weather? Most of that stuff is handled by particles. You're not going to rely just on the volumetric fog. But the one way of doing it is using the volume type of materials. So check out my how-to guide on volume materials and make volumes, make fog like that. And you can apply that also to particles and make the particles animate. That's how you get that look on it. You can also apply a world texture on it, that's panning, for example. But you follow that video. That video will solve most of your questions there. Martin Gomez. You can learn us how to make a skill tree system with a game instance save, please. To some extent, yes. Obviously, every skill tree is a little bit different. It's not anything that's going to be standard. How do we have time to do this though? I don't know if we have time to do this. Trying to think. Okay, I'm gonna have to give you a quick crash course on it because I don't want to spend the whole time today doing it. It probably make sense to be like a longer form video tutorial series. So what you got to do is set up the data. Okay, so the skill tree bit, the tree part of it, that's just visuals. Okay, that's just how you're displaying that data. Before you get to that, you need to store that data somehow and make it easily readable. Okay, now there are plugins that will help you do this visually, but we're going to say we're doing it raw here with no plugins to help us. Okay, so to do this, basically we need to have a structure about the skill in question. Okay, so skill, so do f skill tree. Okay, and the skill tree is going to have a number of things on it. So the first thing it's going to have on there is the name of the skill, be a text value, description. I won't go into the whole lot. I'll just do a couple. But the main things you want to talk about are the prerequisites. So what skills do you need to have in order for this to be triggered, be available? Okay, so prereq skills. Okay, so that's a tree aspect. So you got to say like, okay, this is, you need that one to do this one, and so forth. Yeah. And this one would be like rank, for example. Ranks. How many ranks does it have? That'd be a integer. So the prerequisite requirement skills would be a name reference. Okay, you're referring to a name of a skill. Or you can use data assets if you want to use. We'll use data assets because that's something new and shiny. Yeah, let's just do data assets. So I'm gonna go to blueprint class. All classes. Primary data asset. We'll call this one skill. PA data asset. I should put those things in here, not in there. Okay, so let's just close that and put them in here instead. Name. Text. Description. Thumbnail, you know, things like this. But again, that prerequisite is important. Okay, and that'll be another of this skill DA. So skill DA there. Okay, and that could be a multiple. You may need multiple to be able to do that, or multiple possible ones. So you can change that to an array like that. And ranks. So number of ranks it has. Okay, there, skill. We then want to create our skills. I'm gonna get rid of this tree. We don't need it anymore. Yeah. Okay, so if we go into miscellaneous here, we go data asset, and we would choose skill DA, and we'll call this one firebolt. We'll make another one to duplicate this, and do ice bolt, and another one. Thunderbolt. But let's say I want one that's going to be linked to Firebolt. Okay, so I'll just duplicate Firebolt here and just do Flame Spear. Okay, so Flame Spear, I need to get Flame Spear, I need to inherit, I have unlocked Firebolt. So on Flame Spear, I'm going to open it up. Obviously, you name them. So Flame Spear, blah, blah, blah. But pre-requirements here, go up to here and choose your Firebolt. There. Okay, so I'm adding Firebolt to that list. So next is just then displaying it visually with buttons that you can click on to unlock these things. Now, when you're unlocking your skills, you need to store what skills you're unlocking and what level you're locking them at. So let's say you have a actor component, which is your skill tree, okay? And in the skill tree, we'll have variables for unlocked skills, okay? That is going to be a map, and the reason why you need a map is because you need the data asset that it's referring to, so skill DA, but you also need it to be a map for the integer. You need to know what rank you have if you've got doing a one that's like that, for example. So you need to have this set up as a map here, and then you just make functions to handle this. So functions would go unlock skill, and we go to unlock skills here, do add. Like that, and we want to add the skill, so just drag that to the thing here. We'll just change that to the skill, and then the number here will be the rank we're increasing by. So with the unlock skills here, we're going to find that skill there, and I want to add 1 to it. Okay, so that's me adding a skill to it, to my unlocked skills. Then when you're doing your save system, you just send this map over to the save system. Likewise, when you're loading, you want to read this from the save file, and that will then represent that on the visuals. As I say, we don't have much time to go through the visuals, so I'm going to give you, again, another quick rundown. Again, this probably makes more sense to be a full series, but if I make a quick widget and explain widget-wise how you do this. Skill tree widget. Open it up. And you're mostly making use of canvas panels. So in the canvas panel here, this is where you're going to put the skill tree. And you're using canvas panel because it has absolute positioning, so you can choose exactly where things go. So you can put a button in, and this button will be referred to a single skill. You put that in there, and you make it so you can choose what skill it has over here. So you make a separate widget in there, much like how we do with the inventory system, and we have inventory slots where you can choose what item is in each slot. Much like that, we have this here, and you just organize them in a particular way, put a base plate behind it. Done. Okay, and that's kind of the gist of it. Yeah, we've got so no time to do it properly, do it fully, but maybe we could do it as like a full series at some point. Let me know if that's something you'd like to see. But hopefully that gives you enough to start going from. Next question. Okay, so buyers of pool, try number 2. How would you go about making a state start system for multiplayer RPG game? The goal is to make it scalable and effective. The MVP state machine is not best, as using animal sequence is inevitable for that. I'll try to use enum to switches, but then have number of states, number of stances, outputs. The best solution so far was to create dedicated objects for states and stances with common events like on begin states. However, objects don't replicate in Unreal, and I'm scared by setting on the server and on the client they will eventually fall off sync. You're probably going to want to make use of something called animation layer graphs and animation link layers. So if I go to ABP Manager, if you go to animation here, you can create an animation layer interface. And create that and go my anim interface. And it works like a blueprint interface if you've used those before. What this does is it allows you to basically insert a separate anim instance into an existing anim instance. What this allows you to do is basically to compartmentalize your different stances and things like that into different anim blueprints and then go from there. So, for example, I can go to my anim interface here and add the animation layer. So we can say this is going to be for swords anim. Okay, sword anim. And we're going to add one input to this here, and we can pass values into it as well if we wanted to. So I can pass through like speed, direction, other things I wanted to, whatever I like. I can pass through there. More on that in a minute. So with the anim interface, you now need to apply it to your interface, to your animation blueprints. So I need to first of all go into my ABP menu, go to class settings, and on the right hand side, scroll down to interfaces, add, and we just choose one we just made. What the hell did I call it? My anim interface. So my there. Okay. Now when I add that, you'll see down here, sword anim becomes part of the animation layers. Okay. Now if I go to the animation graph, I can insert where this would be inserted in. So if I wanted it to override everything, I could just drag that out, and it will create the animation layer for sword anim. So I could just do that, for example. Okay. Now, at the moment, this has no instance class. So you want to leave it blank, okay? Because we're going to activate it in itself. And you probably would, what you'd have is you have like a parent class which has this in there, and then you have like an unarmed one, a sword one, a gun one, etc. But for example, we have this. Then you make your separate animation blueprint. So animation blueprint, and choose a skeleton, and we'll call this one sword, and then BP. And inside this one, you also want to have the same interface. So go class settings, interfaces, add my anim interface. And this time, you're going to see animation layer down here. Okay, double click on this. Now you're going to get a new anim graph. This one is the one that's going to be fed into the other one. Okay. So here I can plug in other animations. Let's say this is a jump, okay? Let's just put a jump animation in here. And this could have state machines, montage, all that stuff. You can have all of that in here separate from the rest of it. So let's say this has a jump animation. When I compile this, you'll notice nothing happens here. That's correct because we aren't using anything else on here. But if I go back to here, hit compile, you'll still see... no, you should be doing something. Why are you doing that? It should be nothing. Hang on, double check I haven't broken that. You should be still walking around just fine. Ooh, what have I done? Sword and a BP. Sword and him. Sword link. Layer. I've not used that, so it should be fine. Ooh. Hang on. Linked. Anim layer. It might be this one I need. No. Hang on. Linked layer. Linked anim layer. Yeah, it is that one. Is that different? Hang on. Yeah, no, this is what I want. Why is it doing this? I've done something wrong. What have I done? That shouldn't be doing anything. Oh. The impose. I need to feed that into it as well. I'd do that. No, that should be right. Oh. Put that there. Anagraph. And put on this one. Input pose. File. No, what the hell's going on? That shouldn't be doing that. Like, you shouldn't have to do this either. Like, you should just leave that blank and it should be fine. But it uses this one. That's the one you want to use. I've probably missed a step. Check out documentation. It goes through it there. But ultimately, let's say you equip an item like this one, for example. Let's, or whatever I'm doing here. And you get the reference to your mesh. You do a link anim class layers. And you choose the class you want to link. So this will be a sword anim. And that will now feed into the relevant layer. Okay, so basically it's going to play that layer on this one here, and the mesh is going to receive it here. But for some reason it's not letting it through. What have I forgotten? Pretty certain that was it. It's gonna bug me. I'm gonna look. Documentation 35 linked anim layers. Yep. Oh, okay. So this one, I have to go into this one here and plug that in. There we go. Yeah, so on the APM Humanity, your sword anim layer has to be left blank and you just plug it in. And then on when you tell it to play this one, so let's, for example, let me tie that to the 1 key. So the 1 key's got nothing to do with jumping, okay? But with this here, it should play the jump animation. 1. Yeah. Okay, so they get up in the air and it stays like that. So that's it, inserting the animation graph into there. Okay, so you can do things like that to change over what animation they have and what item they're holding. You can change space, things like that. Another reason why you do this as well is, so let's say you've got a team of animators working for your project. Each of you can work on a separate animation blueprint without getting in the other's way. Makes life a little bit easier. Problem solved. What are we doing for time? Oh, I've got loads of time. Great. Next, we have got... Next question we'll take from... yeah, that's no problem, Poseidon. So that was linked layer anims. There's also linked anim graphs, which is basically you're making like child graphs of it, and you can import those into. But we don't need to worry about that in this one. Ahmed, can you improve your advanced dialogue system by adding animation sounds and event triggers to it? Yes, I will be actually doing that at some point. I have developed and devised a new improved way of doing it. So that's one of the ones that's on the to-do list to record over the summer, as a sort of update to that. Next question. Hello Ryan, is there a simple way to have two skeletal meshes colliding with each other in one blueprint? A ball rolling in a bowl. Skeletal meshes. I mean, kinda. Yeah. You basically need to make something roll around inside. You've got two ways of doing it. You can fake it, or you can do it properly. If you're doing it properly, you have to make like an inside out sphere basically. The problem with that is that the collision system does not support concave shapes. They have to be convex. So basically what you're going to find is that this sphere is actually not really a sphere. It's just other boxes that are stacked together to make it look round like this, which could be quite messy. And then you drop something inside of it and make it roll around freely with physics. The alternative method is... let's do this. I'm going to add... I'm going to do it with a sphere. And I'm going to add another sphere to that. And just get it there. And this sphere one, I'm going to change the name of that one to be small sphere. And change the size of it down to 0.2. I'm going to change this big sphere, which I'm going to name big sphere, to be made of glass so we can actually see through it. Like that. Okay, so we've got a glass and a ball inside of it. So the way of faking this is with a physics constraint. And this works best in this case with static meshes, as these are. If you've got skeletal meshes, it should still work. But yeah. So on the physics constraint here, we're going to have this in the middle of our ball here. And I'm going to go to the component name 1. The first component is going to be the small sphere. Okay, so we've got the small sphere like that. I also want to make that thing simulate physics there too. I then want to change its constraints. So if I go down... Oh, hello, what's going on there? Hold on, we've got a lag issue here. Calm down. Computer's having a hard time. Okay. No, it's having a hard time still. It's been doing this lately. It just like gets weird laggy behavior. I don't know why. Come on, I just want to go down. Right, oh, too far. Right, so I want to change the linear limits and the angular limits probably. But definitely linear limits, okay? So with the Z motion, I want to give it limited movement in the Z. And the limit is going to be the width of this circle, okay? So 50. Okay, and you can see the line limiting how far it can move up and down that. The next one is I'm going to limit the Y. Again, 50. Limited the X, 50. So I've got full movement over here in these sort of directions here. And what that should do, I imagine, would mean the ball can roll around inside of it. I do have to make the big sphere, though, ignore that one's collision, though. So I'm just going to tell this big sphere to have no collision on it for a second while we test this out. No collision. Small sphere should have, yep, some collision on it. Great. So if I were to drag that into my scene, like that, and then tell it to simulate, we've got our ball here. And if I... No. Why is the physics component not moving with that? I might have to constrain it to the big ball as well. So constraint here. Component name 2. Be big sphere. We'll make the big sphere also simulate physics too. Right, so simulate. No, what's going on here? Oh. Right, we can't take it to simulate physics. I'm going to turn that off for a second. Simulate. No. Where's the ball going? Over there. Why's it over there? Huh? Right. It's because okay. This constraint. I shouldn't have to put big sphere on it because it should just constrain to that anchor point, which is the constraint itself. Yeah, that makes sense. Why? I don't know. It's not working. That should be. Let me attach the physics constraint to the big sphere. See if that changes anything. Yeah, still constrained to a weird wrong spot. Hold on. Linear limits. Right, I think I need to make the big sphere the root of this whole entire thing. And I think I need to make that big sphere support physics as well. Right, yeah, we're going to have to. Okay, so if I go to the big sphere, I need to change its collision here to select physics, and it'll change to physics actor. I want this to purposely, though, ignore the one in the middle. Okay, so in the construction script, though, I'm going to tell the big sphere, ignore, oh no, can't be there. It's begin play. Check it out. Ignore component when moving. I think that should do it. And the component is going to be a small thing. Oh, small sphere. And we'll tick the box. Okay. How's that looking? Right. Well, it's doing its thing there, but our ball's just decided to piss off down there. It's annoying because that's correct. So why? Oh, now I should need to constrain it now. Whoops, I forgot. I took it off, didn't I? Big sphere. Right. There you go. Right, so as this thing is simulating, if I drag this around, it should roll around inside of it still. Okay. Might need to change the size of it to account for the width of the small box inside of it. Yeah, we'll do that first. We're going to change the physics constraint here. From 50 to 40. Okay, let's see how that looks. Yeah, not too bad. Oh. May want to increase the mass of it a little bit. It's just not really doing as I want it to do though. Right, I want it freely moving around, like jostling around. So if it was upside down, it would like drop, you know. But for some reason, it's not deciding it wants to do that. Isn't physics fun? Yeah, that sort of movement should be better than that. I don't know why. Soft constraint. We'll do that. Leave that there. Yeah, now it's too soft. It's gonna just flip out. Yeah, no. It's probably something like this. Require some tinkering around. I just don't get why it should have free movement and go everywhere. Don't know. It should have free movement. Unless I've got my... No, it should be right, yeah. Let me try swapping these around, see if that changes anything. Big sphere. Small sphere. I don't think it will, though. Yeah, no, just causes more issues. Oh god. Yeah, it does not like doing that. Yeah, we just undo that. It's something along those lines. It might be a way of doing it. So yeah. I want to learn from Udemy, but I don't have money to watch courses. What can I do? Watch on YouTube? I don't know. Wait till you get the sales on. Buy them cheap if you can. Get them cheap. But yeah. Mac Studio, hey man, I've got a question about NMBP. Is it okay to connect on NMBP 3 anim slots, like default slot, upper slot, custom slot, for example? Connection all 3 in a row on enemy 2. Yes, totally fine. Oh, Jobin, would you know how to make a minimap that you would be able to click on certain objects within the map and have it interact with a specific object in the scene? I mean, on paper, yes, but the maths involved in that is insanely complex. Yeah, but it's not straightforward because you have to, when you click on the map, you have to get the coordinates that you've clicked on into that 2D space, convert that over to the 3D space, then do projections down from the sky into the scene at those coordinates, and then trigger it that way. That's essentially the gist of it, but that's a complex mathematical thing to do. Yeah, there's nothing we can do right now. But maybe in the future we could look at something like that. Maybe we'll see. Next question. Question from Papa Kaspar. Question about farming system. I'm casting to third-person character with get player character, but then only server gets the reward after the harvest. And when client harvests, it goes straight to the server's inventory. Okay, so I'm guessing the question is that you don't want to do that. But then only server gets reward after harvest, and when client harvests it, it goes straight to the server's inventory. Need to make sure the inventory for the player character is also replicated. You need to make sure that when the server registers that yes, they've got an item, you send it to the correct player character's reference. Get player character returns the local player character. So if the server is calling get player character, it's always going to return their character, no one else's. So, but do bear that in mind. Josh Moore, what would be the right way to set up a camera that swaps between 3D action style to a 2D side-scrolling camera? A trigger to swap cameras or move in the same camera? I'll probably trigger to swap cameras personally. Just because it'd be easier to control what's going on there. So let's do that, okay? I'm gonna actually do it. Let's go to our player character. And I'm gonna make it push a button, change from a 3D game to a 2D game. Okay, so on the camera here, on the camera boom rather, I'm gonna add another camera. And the same would go if this is like in the world camera. You just need a reference to it. That's all. And we'll just change the name of that to 2D camera. And the thing I want to change on this one is I'm going to change the projection mode here from perspective to orthographic. Like that. Ortho whip we may need to tweak around with, but for now that'll do. But I want to turn off its activation for now, like that. And on the event graph, when I push 1, we're going to enable activate this camera, and then deactivate the other one. And essentially that's what you're doing, or you just set view target to blend if it's on a different actor, something like that. So I'm gonna push 1, we go to a 2D game, push 1 again. Oh, I didn't do it the other way back. But here we got like a 2D game type thing. You'll definitely like change like the camera control so you can't move the camera around like this. But that is how you do a 2D to 3D camera. Flip-flopping back and forth like that. We can make it actually flip-flop back and forth if we want it to. We can select if 3D camera is active. Plug that into the index. If it is active, I want the... it's already active, sorry. The true one would be the follow camera. So put that in there. And the false one would be the 2D camera. And likewise, here, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. And I'm going to flip this around. So, oh, hold on. No, it's going to change, actually. I want to deactivate. No, hold on. If it's active, become the follow camera. I need to store this one here. So promote variable rev cam. No, cunt cam. And then I'd say if the follow cam here is active, put that in there. If that is my brain is, I'm starting to flag. I'm very tired. It'd be something like this. Great at working out. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It'd be something like that to flip it. But yeah. How do different animation cycles in the same character, for example, walking on solid ground and walking in shallow water? Yeah. So, for example, there's a numerous ways you could do it. If we go to the anim characters blueprint animation, anim graph. So, like in the animation graph here, for example, the walk run, you'd have a different blend space for different things. Okay, so you'll have blend space for walking normally, one walking through snow, walking through water, etc. And then you do a blend by enum probably, and the enum would be like what type of ground you're on. And then when you touch that ground, you want to report back either through a physics material or like material type thing, or you can do volumes, whatever it is, to store that enum. And you just do blend by enum, and that could do a nice soft blend between them as you transfer between one and the other. And you just do this in every one. You can even do it inside of the state machine, or you can have multiple state machines doing different things and just swap them out in here, for example. Okay, so you can have multiple locomotions into one layer, blend layer by enum, and then plug that into there. Only time for one or two more questions. Okay, Scrap Hunter. Hey Ryan, have you ever dealt with root motion animation playing and not respecting the collision of the environment and going through walls? If so, what was your solution to it? The number one thing to check is that it is actually root motion. You'd be surprised how many things I've seen call themselves root motion or claim to be and aren't. So the thing you're looking for, if it's root motion, you want to, without root motion turned on, so leave it turned off, go to skeletal tree, click on the root. Does that root move off the spot? If it does, then your thing has root motion. If it doesn't, then it does not have root motion. That's going to be your main culprit. Okay, that root must be moving in order for it to work with root motion. So I'm going to guess that that's the issue you have. Josimar Rodriguez, hello Ryan, can you tell us best practice for touch games, swipe, pinch, zoom, and how it can conflict between each other? I've never tried to do a mobile game like that on Unreal, but I do know that in the input settings, you can command and by those sort of actions. So, like, for example, in here, for example, this shoot button, I could change this to a touch or gesture. So touch 1, touch 2, touch 3. Touch 1 means you tap with one finger. Touch 2 is 2 fingers. Tap 3 is 3 fingers, and so on. And gesture is the pinch, flick, rotate type motion. Okay. That's all I know. I've never done it, practiced with it before, but that's all I know. About especially conflicts and things. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry. Oh, Red Fox. Yes. Maybe you could have at least last advice for the aircraft. Is it a good idea to use floating component? Do you know? Probably. Yeah. I can't say for certain. But in the past, when I've done flying machines, I've relied on the floating pawn movement component and applied movement that way. That is where I would start. I can't say for certain if it would work for you and exactly how you want it to feel like, but that's where I'll begin. Hosey, how to replicate certain things. For example, there's a certain jump scare that I want all players to hear at the same time. Not sure how to do so. Number 1, the server must be the one that activates the function that has the jump scare. Number 2, make sure the actor that has the jump scare on it is replicated. And you tick the box to be replicated. Number 3, if it's something that you're spawning into the scene to cause a jump scare, so it doesn't exist already and activating it, you're actually spawning it in, that spawn must be done by the server. If it's not done by the server, it would only happen for the local character. Hope that helps. If you have an AI patrolling and go too far from him, how can you cancel the AI going to that spot and choose a new one? Do you mean like giving up and going back to where they were? Is that what you mean, Sergio? Hold on, say Sol. I'll check out the question in future. How do you allow players to upload levels they create for other players to play? Problem isn't allowing players to create their own levels. Problem is sharing them. I don't know where to start with this one. If it's too long to answer, we keep it into next week. This varies greatly. So I've done stuff like this in the past, and it depends greatly on the game and the complexity of the level. So mine was a 2D grid-based game that I was sharing map data with, and all I did was I converted the grid into a string, and I just uploaded a string to a database assigned to the player character. So when the player player ID, sorry. So when the player logged in, they fetched their strings, and I made a converter which built the level from a string. This made it very quick and easy to upload stuff and download stuff. It was very cheap to do, bandwidth wise, but not entirely feasible when it comes to more complex 3D spaces. In that instance, you're probably looking at doing some sort of build list of like objects and their transforms, and sharing that to JSON file. You're looking at uploading JSON files, JSON data, and downloading JSON data, reading that JSON data. That's probably where that's going to be going. I cancel going to that spot and choose a new location closer to the player. Okay, Sergio, when you're doing AI move to or doing a move to node in the behavior tree, don't use vectors. Use the actor reference of the player. That means they'll chase the player directly, rather than going to their last seen location or the location they triggered it. They'll just go to them all the time, following them. So use actors rather than vectors when they're chasing characters around. But that'll have to do for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions, for question time here. We are live again on Saturday this weekend doing our Pokemon game, Retro Remake. So come by on Saturday and check that out and see the progress we're making over there. More content coming out. We've got more animation videos coming from Luke tomorrow, publicly, and more coming to Patreon this week too. We've got more survival series. We've got more procedural content generation, more AI stuff, all good stuff coming over the next time. And as I said, like during the summer, we're looking at pumping out a load of content, or at least preparing a lot of content. So look out for that coming in the summer. Thank you so much everyone for joining us. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/Ryan Laley, where you can support the channel from just $1 a month, get access to all the videos early, and many other benefits too. Thank you so much to everyone who is supporting the channel over there. It really is fantastic. Thank you so much. It wouldn't be possible without you guys, so thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.